Hi, I'm Caroline.
And I'm Megan.
And this is the Songwriter Diaries,
a podcast by songwriters for songwriters. OMG, hello.
Hello.
Today we have on the outstanding Cate Downey to talk all about her flourishing songwriting career. Cate, can you just start by telling our audience a little bit about yourself and why you chose to pursue a career in songwriting?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you.
Yes.
Sorry, what was the question? It was why did I choose songwriting?
Introduce myself. And just about yourself.
A little bit about yourself, yeah.
Yeah. My name's Cate. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I grew up just always being obsessed with music. I think I started singing when I was like 5. I was just always singing whatever movie musical songs that I was listening to at the time. And my sisters would sing with me. And I fell in love with writing songs when I think I was like 12 or 13. I remember I was in middle school and my choir teacher in middle school was playing a song on the piano that I didn't know. And I was like, what song is that? And she was like, I wrote it. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't understand that people who weren't like Beyonce could like write songs. I thought that only like famous musicians wrote songs. I didn't know that normal people could do that. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I want to do that. And so then I just started doing it and then literally have just not stopped ever since. And I was really lucky, and I went to a couple different music camps throughout my time in high school and middle school, and I ended up learning what a publishing deal was pretty young because of that at Lynx Camp, which is where I know Caroline. And
yes.
as soon as they told me what that was, I was like, that's it, I'm sold. That's what I want to do with my life. Because I love singing and I love writing, but I think performing is never been the thing that has made me want to do music. It's always just been me wanting to write at the piano by myself. And so it didn't matter to me if that was going to be me singing or somebody else. I just wanted to write. And so I think as soon as I learned that was a career option, I just kind of ran with it and was like, this is what I'm going to do. So I think I was lucky that I like learned what that was pretty early on, because I think for so many writers, that's just not something that you learn until way later in your career. There's just so many parts of this industry that you don't even know exist until you're kind of behind the curtains, which I think is so funny. But yeah, so that's kind of why I started. I was just like, I love this. I also like tried so many jobs in high school, and I would just sucked at all of them. I hated working. There was nothing that I was as interested in as music. And I was like, I have to do this. This is all I'm good at. So that was also part of it for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of that. And I'm still doing it, which is crazy. So yeah.
So you live in LA. Did you go to college or did you move to LA after high school?
So after high school, I went to this music program called LIMPI, Lillehammer Production of Music. Oh my God, what does it stand for? Lillehammer Institute of Music Production and Industries. That's what it stands for. It's this tiny 1-year music program in Lillehammer, Norway, which was like so random. But I had gone to like a couple different music camps and conferences, and I went to this conference that maybe you guys have heard of called the Durango Songwriters Expo in Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah. And I met this girl named Haley when I was there, and she was just another songwriter. And this was while I was in high school again, and I was just following her on Instagram after that, and I saw that she went the year before me. So that's the only reason I knew that this existed, was because of her.
Yeah.
And then I applied to a bunch of different colleges. I had confirmed my spot at Belmont. I was like 100% supposed to go to Belmont. I like had a roommate and like my schedule and everything. And I ended up applying to this program during one of my last weeks of high school, kind of just as like a bored senior in her final classes, not having anything to do. I didn't like tell any of my friends or my family. I just like applied, and I didn't even think I'd get in, didn't think they'd let me go. And then I ended up getting in after I'd already confirmed my spot at Belmont, and I went to my parents and I was like, hey, I know we agreed that I'm going to go to college, but what if I did this instead? And at first I thought it was a scam, but we ended up agreeing that I would go for a year as kind of like a gap year thing and then go to college, and then ended up not doing that because of COVID and just life. So yeah, I ended up not going to college, and I just did that 1-year program. It's founded by Stargate, who's a production duo, like very well-known pop production pair. They're from Norway and they live in LA now. And so that's why it was based in Norway. But it was great. I really learned like everything that I think I needed to learn. It was very much set up. So it felt almost more of like a writing camp than an actual school. So I was just kind of writing in studios every day, which was just like a crazy, I can't believe that even happened. But yeah, so I was really lucky that I was able to find that program. And they have one now in LA for younger aspiring musicians, if anyone's listening. I know that it wasn't, I was only the second year that it was open, so it's a very new program still.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so it's great, and I really am glad that I did that. And then, yeah, so I was there for 2019, 2020, and then the world shut down, as everyone knows. And then I ended up staying because of that. I was supposed to go home in May, and I ended up staying another like 6 months just because I didn't want to go back to America. So I stayed there and I continued to work.
Valid.
And then I came home, worked at home for another like 8 months, just like kind of doing sessions online where I could. And while I was home, I was just like, I was a psycho internet stalker. I like would literally follow any music business person or creative that I could on Instagram or, you know, whatever, during that time especially. And I would just DM people like crazy. So that could be like artists or management or publishers or whatever. And while I was home, I ended up DMing both my manager and who's now my publisher. And so during that period, I kind of came out here a couple times for sessions that they were setting me up in and some other things. And then officially moved in August or September of 2021. And yeah, have been here ever since. So now we're just doing and I signed my deal right when I got here, which was also really, really lucky. But yeah, so then I've just been writing and working since then. So yeah, that was long-winded, but that's the whole shebang.
What a journey.
We love long-winded.
Yes.
So can you tell like our listeners a little bit about what your deal is and what that kind of looks like, getting a publishing deal? Because I feel like, as you said, a lot of people don't really understand what goes into that.
Yeah, it is, you know, it's a very confusing thing that people really just don't even learn until you're in it. So definitely. So I think the best way to explain it is that there's 2 streams of income for every song. There's the royalties for the song itself, and then the recording of the song. I'm not sure if you guys have done this already on your podcast, but I can stop me anytime.
Everyone needs a refresher.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone needs a refresher.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So there's 2 streams of income. There's the writing, the song itself, and then the recording of the song. And I think the best example that people gave me when I was learning this was "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston. That song is actually a song that Dolly Parton wrote. And then there's a cover that Whitney Houston sang that obviously was one of her more successful songs. So when you think of that song, the writing portion of the income goes to Dolly Parton, and then the money for the recording of the song goes to Whitney Houston. So I think that's a good way to just like visualize it. So in terms of the different companies in the music industry, there's a label and a publisher are kind of your 2 main components on those 2 sides. So a label will collect money for the recording of the song, and a publisher will collect money for the writing of the song. And so if you are an artist, you want to, it's important for, some artists want to sign with a major label because they help promote that recording of the song. And then on the other side, if you want to be a songwriter, a publisher will help collect the money for writing songs and also help put you in rooms with artists to write songs with them. So those are kind of the 2 sides of the industry. And so, wanting to be a songwriter was always my main goal. And so signing a publishing deal for me was to help me first collect the money that I was making from writing songs for others, and then also connecting me with artists that I wanted to work with. And help, if there were songs that I wrote on my own or with other writers, help me pitch those to artists directly. So that's kind of why people sign publishing deals. And there's the advance too, which is on both sides. That can give you, it's kind of like a loan that they'll give you when you sign up front. That is not free money, so don't. I think that it can be it can be viewed as free money, but it's not. It's an advance against future earnings that they assume that you're going to make from those streams of income. So one of the main reasons that people sign is to get that advance so that they don't have to work and can really just focus on music. So I was lucky that when I signed here, I had that advance, so I didn't have to get a second job. I could really just focus on writing every day. So yeah, that's kind of like the main general why people sign. But yeah, so for me, what that looks like every day is it's very much kind of like a 9 to 5, or maybe not a 9, like a 1 to 7, 1 to 8 sort of job. Monday through Friday usually, and sometimes more, sometimes less, I'll be in a writing session where my publisher has connected me with a producer and either another writer or an artist. And we are writing in the room either for that artist, or if there's not an artist in the room, we're writing for pitch, which is basically writing a song for an artist without the artist being in the room and then sending it to them after. So yeah, I'm in the studio pretty much every day, which is really, really crazy. But yeah, that's kind of what my day-to-day looks like. It's just writing every day. So yeah.
Yes. And with your publishing deal, do you have a kind of quota that you need to meet in terms of placements and like amount of songs that you have to have per year or whatever the timeline is?
I don't. I know that used to be a bigger thing. I think those kinds of deals are kind of going extinct because they're shitty, but those are called MVRC deals, and I've heard of those, where I think it was pretty common up until like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, that writers would have a quota of like, you have to send in 10 songs that are all released by a major label and that are all singles, which is just like, I think about that and I'm like, wow, I'm so lucky that I don't. That's not really a thing that happens anymore, because you just, there's no way for you to know or predict how, or force that to happen, you know? And so no, I think mine, and I'm pretty sure that most deals with this structure are recoupment based. So it's once my advance is repaid back, then I'm either moved to my next option or I'm out of my deal. Which I think, you know, talking to other friends in similar publishing deals, that seems to be how it is all recoupment based, which I think is much better. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. And when did you sign? You signed your deal back in 2021?
2021. Yeah.
And is there like an end of the deal, or is it just whenever you recoup, then it ends?
I think for mine, it's like the later of either 2 years or recoupment. So, but everyone's is different. And yeah, so it's like 2 years have to pass and I have to recoup the deal. So if, you know, I recoup, but it hasn't been 2 years, I don't move to the next part, and vice versa. But yeah, I do think, you know, there's not necessarily like a standard, or there kind of is, but yeah, I feel like everyone's deal looks pretty different. A lot of my friends have 3-year deals, some have shorter. So I think it really just depends on what the deal is and who you're signing with. So yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I did not know that they did solely recoupment now. I had no idea. That's amazing.
Sick.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a way better structure, I would say.
Yeah.
Because it's the deals that I would read are like, how on earth would you get this to happen? Like, it is
they're crazy.
So wild.
And, you know, I mean, I might be wrong. I think maybe in places like Nashville or other cities, that might be more of a common thing. But at least from, you know, what I've seen, I don't think that's as common here. But, you know, not everyone, you know, discloses that information about their deals too. So you never really know. But
yeah. I'm like, so I'm all for transparency. I'm like, we all need to help each other, make sure that we're not signing bad things, you know, like, but
I know
for sure.
So, would you say that you prefer co-writing or solo writing now?
That's such a hard question. I love both so much. I remember a writer telling me when I was at school, like a mentor that came in, she said, don't lose your skill of solo writing because it's so easy once you start co-writing to just fall in love with it and always want somebody else there. So she was like, always make sure you still have that skill. And so I think they're both just like they're so great in their own ways. I think, when I write by myself, I feel like it's a very like therapeutic process, and I'm not worried about someone else's input. I'm only worrying about what I want to say and what I think is right. And so I think it feels it just, I don't know. For me, I really enjoy that process, and I think a lot of the times when I'm writing for my own artist project or just for fun, I tend to write by myself. But then with co-writing, I think there's just so many talented musicians, and every time you write with somebody else, they'll come up with things that you'll never even think of. And I think you just get to play, I think that I'm somebody who really enjoys lyrics. And so anytime I work with somebody that is a really strong melodic songwriter, I feel like it's such a great pairing because I really get to use the best of his talents and he gets to use the best of mine. And so I think that it's just such a, I don't know. I love both. And I think it's important to always do both and not just stick to one or the other. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't think I can choose. But yeah.
Yeah.
I love that though. That was a good answer.
So you would say you're more lyric based instead of like instrumental, like music based in terms of like what you bring to the table?
Yeah, I think I go back and forth. It's funny because since I was in Norway for that first school and that chunk of time after, I was I was an English speaking person, and for all of them was their second language, and so I kind of got used to being the person that was the lyric person, kind of because there wasn't everyone else was great. They had great ideas, but I think it was just easier and more natural for me because it was my first language. And them growing up in Scandinavia, they just and them being in Scandinavia, Max Martin is Swedish, and I think that they just have pop melodies ingrained in their brain. I tell them this all the time, that their melodies are just insane. And so I think it was just kind of like, it made me realize that I do love melodies, and I think that, I don't think I'm like bad at melodies, but I think I just enjoy the lyric aspect more. But yeah, because of that pairing, I think I kind of like cemented in my brain that I was going to be more of the lyric person. And I think I realized that I had value in that just because I knew so many people who were melody-based writers, that it felt like kind of an added talent to be able to have a lyrical background. Yeah.
Okay, so we have another tough question that I don't think you're going to be able to pick one, but I was just curious, in your opinion, and today, because I'm sure this changes all the time, but what do you think is the most important element of a good song?
So this is gonna contradict what I just said, but I do think that melody is obviously I think melody is king, and that's something that everyone teaches you in anytime you learn songwriting. But now I'm going back and forth. I feel like I think melody is still king, because there are songs that even being a lyric person, I feel like I'll listen to songs, and if the melody doesn't grasp me right away, I can't pick up, it won't register with me, even if it's a great lyric. And so I think the melody is kind of like the icing on top of the cake, and you want it to it kind of draws people in, right? And then I think the lyrical content is the cake underneath, and you want that flavor to be rich and filling. But you can have a really rich and filling cake, but if it's just sitting there because the icing on top is ugly and no one wants to fuck with it, I think that what's the point? And so I think, the melody is really important, which is so funny that I literally just contradicted myself. But I do think they kind of go, they kind of work together. That's my answer for today, coming from my pop brain.
Yes. I definitely think it's genre based too. I'm sure that people in other genres would have different opinions, but definitely in pop, for sure, I would say that. I mean, melody, I think overall is very important to a lot of different genres, but especially pop. So
definitely.
What advice would you give our listeners trying to break into the co-writing space?
I think one thing I'll say is social media is your biggest friend and biggest tool. I've met so many amazing songwriters that I've wanted to collaborate with just through the internet, and even, finding out about Durango through the internet, and Limpy, where I went to school. I think that, there's always places to connect with people. And like I said before, like when I was first starting out, all I did was just DM whoever would respond. And I think, and with that, I think posting your music. I remember someone telling me to do that at Lynx Camp and thinking that that was so embarrassing. I would never post my own music online for people to see. But I started doing it, and it really helped me kind of like, find other musicians that were in the same space. And so I think that, that's just something that up until very recently, that has not been an option for people. You had to, play a show and find a label that way. But we have this opportunity now to use this. And so I think that, use everything that you can to your advantage. And then I also think, play shows if that's something that you're interested in doing. Everything that whatever your goal is in music, I think that there are ways to do it yourself without needing an extra person in the industry. You can always start yourself first. And I think if you wait for somebody else to find you, you're going to be waiting forever. You have to do as much as you can on your own first. And then people will start to notice. So, I don't know if that makes sense, but
that is such good advice though. That is so true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, a lot of people get caught up in there's no way I can do this because they have this, this, and this that I don't.
Yeah.
And you need to just focus on what you do have and share that with the world, especially with the internet. It's like, put yourself out there, not too much of yourself, but like as much as you're comfortable with,
Yeah, for
put
sure.
yourself out on the internet. But that goes into our next question, because I know that you got very popular on TikTok, because I would like see you on my For You page and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, that's Cate. Like, wait, what? This is crazy. So I was curious how social media has impacted your relationship with your audience, as well as just like your career in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's been super useful for me. Kind of what I was saying before TikTok was a thing, I never really posted my own stuff on the internet. I was always very nervous, very shy and embarrassed. And then I honestly started doing it because I had another writer friend who started posting demos of her stuff on TikTok, and I saw that she was kind of gaining a following, and I was like, oh, this is, and then those artists would want to write with her. And I was like, this is interesting. I wonder if this would work. Because I do think that one of the hard things about being a writer wanting to work with artists is if you ask an artist to work with you and they have no idea what your kind of music sounds like or what you would bring to the table, I think it's hard for them to want to say yes sometimes. And so I think if you even just having like a show reel demo of what kind of you can bring to the table, I think is super helpful to them. And when I saw that on TikTok, I kind of thought that was kind of a great show reel for what I, as a writer, like to do. And so, I started posting TikToks, I don't even know when, during COVID, 2020. And, it's a hard game. I think I was posting for like a year or something before anything actually like took off, maybe longer. But then when they did kind of start gaining some traction, it was great because exactly what I was saying about that girl happened to me, where artists that were similar to me and that I liked kind of started connecting me and finding me on TikTok. And then I would, reach out to them on the platform, and we would write because of that. And so I continue to do that and still post on there. Mainly for that reason. But then, it's funny because like I said that I didn't really want to be an artist. And then once this following kind of I'm not even like that big on TikTok, but like I had enough of a following happen, or grow on there that now it kind of like, changed my view on the artist project thing. And so now I'm, working towards that more, and have been starting to release my own music, and we'll do some more of that soon, which is exciting. So I think, it's been a good tool for me for both the writing and the artist project. And I think that it definitely is like a mixed battle. I know that or mixed bag. Oh my gosh. I know that some artists and writers, kind of, it can be kind of toxic for us to kind of like obsess over the numbers and, all of that stuff that comes with TikTok. And I definitely go through phases where I have to like delete the app for like 3 weeks and not post. And then I'll like come back again. But I think like it's just another tool, like I said. And so I think that the more that I try to think of it as a tool and not, end all be all, I think it's been healthy. So yeah.
Your sounds, like, have people used your song in their videos? Like, that's so, that
Yeah,
must feel so cool.
it's so wild. It's like the craziest thing. Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times, or like people have like posted covers of songs that aren't even out, and it's just like it's crazy just to like watch other people resonate with your songs. I think that's just such a beautiful thing that like, I think it's easy to like get caught up in all of the politics and the stresses of this job, and then you see something like that and you're like, oh yeah, this is why I like to do this. So it is such a rewarding feeling. It's really, really cool.
That's sick.
Yes.
And then you recently also got placed in a song placed in the new Fast and Furious movie.
Yes.
Can't believe A, that they made another movie,
I know.
and B, that happened. Can you give us a little insight on
Yeah,
how that
definitely.
came about?
Yeah, it's not even the last movie. They're making another one, which is crazy.
Oh my god.
Of course.
That's crazy.
Of course.
Yeah, that was crazy. So my publisher was doing a lot of the music for that Fast and Furious franchise. And so all last summer they were doing writing sessions and camps for the project. And I think I'd already done like 5 different songs trying to pitch to this brief, and just like nothing was getting where it needed to be. And then I was actually home for like 3 months in August, because my sister was having heart surgery. She's fine now, but it was like a stressful time in my life. And my my A&R was like, my A&R is like my point person at my publisher, for anyone listening. He emailed me and he was like, hey, I know that you're in a stressful situation, but we have one more song that we need for this Fast and Furious brief that I think you could nail by yourself. And so he sent it, and it was like, he wanted the song to be called Nothing Else Matters. And he wanted it to be a kind of Skyfall, big anthemic sort of song, big piano ballad. And I'm like, I love piano ballads. That's all I ever do. And he was like, I know. And so while I was home and kind of going through this, I wrote it by myself in my parents' basement, which is just so funny that like, I try to like write all of these big songs here and, be in the best rooms and all of this stuff. And then like the song that's like my biggest song right now is just a song that I wrote in my parents' basement with my family by myself. I just think it's just so funny. And so, yeah, I just wrote it. I wrote it there, or the first version, and then kind of sent it back and forth. And I literally think I had to rewrite the chorus like 10 different times because either the director of the movie or like the head A&R wanted something different. And so I think I literally, had like ended with like 10 or 13 different versions of the song. And this was in like, by like December, I think we had the final version. And then it was still my vocal. So that was step 1. Still didn't know if the song was like confirmed in the movie. It was just like, and then for the next couple months, they had to decide who was going to sing the song. And so I think they had like 3 different artists try different versions of the song. We had 1 male, and then we had 2 female artists try singing the song. And there was 2 female, both of the female artists who sang versions of it sounded incredible. And so then there was this internal debate of like which artist was going to sing it, which one wasn't. And so that was kind of going back and forth up until March, and then we decided on the artist who was going to sing it. And then then it was confirmed, and then it came out in May. So it was like such a long process that was just like, especially in the beginning where I was doing all those rewrites and I didn't know if it was going to go through. I was just like hoping, and I like didn't tell anyone. I couldn't talk to anyone about it because I didn't want to like jinx it or ruin it. And so like, yeah, it was crazy. But I'm really proud of that song. I'm really glad that I like put the work in and really did all of those edits that I needed to do. And I do think it's so special that it was a song that I wrote kind of by myself on the piano, which is just how I started writing, and that still resonates with people. We did bring it to a producer in the end named Mark Nylon, who's an incredible producer, and he produced up the demo that I did, which sounds insane. But yeah, so that's kind of how that happened. It was just a crazy year-long process, but now it's out in the world, and yeah, super excited about it. So
wow. Who ended up singing it?
So the singer is a girl named Jessie Murph. She's a Nashville-based artist. Her voice is just insane, and on the song, I think she just like really, she just really sells it in a way that like it made me cry when I first heard it, because I think she just really like brought this like emotion to the recording that was just, it's just so crazy to hear. It's always crazy to hear a song that you wrote sung by an artist, but I think particularly with her and with that vocal, I think it really just like brought something to the song that was just like so incredible. So yeah, she's great. You can check her out on Spotify.
Awesome. Well, we've come to the last question, which is crazy.
Oh, sweet.
Why do you write songs?
Oh, wow. What a question.
Why
do I write songs?
So cute.
It's funny because I feel like it changes, you know? I feel like when I started writing songs, it was because I needed to process whatever I was feeling, or it was just because I liked the puzzle of it. Now, you know, I feel like I'm writing a song because I want to help whoever I'm writing with kind of understand what they're going through and work through that. I also feel like then when it comes to like songs like this, I feel like the Fast and Furious song, I feel like I'm writing songs for an audience to connect to. And so I feel like it's just like, it changes all the time. But I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to like feeling connected to your emotion and who you are. And whether that's me or somebody else. So yeah, I think that's like the general thing. And I just love it. I like suck at every other job. This is like the only job I'm good at that I like want to do consistently. So that's also part of why I do it, like, because I genuinely just love it. But yeah, those are my answers.
That was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. I'm gonna just the fact that you want to help other people express the feelings that maybe they're struggling to express in their music is such a cool thing. You're like everyone's therapist now.
Yeah, kind of.
Get the
feelings out. A music
therapist.
Like
that's what music
watches
is.
Fast and Furious is actually going to leave and be like, wow, did I just come out of therapy?
Yep.
I know. Part of me was really hoping your answer would just be like, I write songs solely to get them in the Fast and Furious.
So yeah, that's the only reason. That's the only reason I do it.
This is my only career goal for the rest of time.
I love these movies so much.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Oh
that's what it is.
That's incredible.
In my heart of hearts. Yeah.
Yes. So the closing song that we have by you is Puppet. Can you tell us a little bit about the songwriting of that?
Yes, I can. I will preface this by saying, so this is a song that I posted on TikTok like literally 2 years ago. It's my biggest kind of song on there. And I have not been able to release it for so long. And I know that, you know, I have such great fans that have been wanting me to put this out for such a long time. And it's finally coming out at the end of this month. So by the time that this podcast is out, it'll already be out, which is very exciting. But yeah, so this song is just one of my favorites, and you know, I've seen it connect with people before it's even come out, which is so crazy. And yeah, so that's kind of like the story behind it. It's a song that I wrote kind of about being in a toxic relationship, but like you know it's toxic and you're not letting yourself out of it, sort of, is the main thing. And it's kind of about being so addicted to this person that you know is not good for you. You know it's not good for you, but you kind of still are. And I think that that's just something that so many people go through. I think that we just want what we can't have sometimes. And yeah, so that's kind of like the bulk of this song. I wrote this after there was this boy, guys, that I was obsessed with for way too long, and it was kind of one of those things where I was waiting for whatever he wanted me to be for him. I wanted to be that, and I was just kind of like waiting around for this, even though it wasn't a good thing. And he kind of knew what he was doing, I think, a little bit, but he, not completely. It was mostly on me. So that's kind of like where the bulk of this comes from. It's just that idea of that. And so for the first verse of the song is, if you said jump, I'd leap. If you said stay, I'd cling. If you said go, I'd leave, but I wouldn't want to. If you said wait, I'd stop. In my tracks, I'm not good at giving up this tunnel vision. So I think that, like, the sentiment of that verse is, like, very much what I was saying about just, like, I would do whatever you want me to be for this person, I would be for this person. And I'm just kind of, like, ready. And it's just wanting somebody so badly in such an unhealthy way that I think is, like, just such a common thing that everyone goes through at some point. And then by the end of the song in the bridge, I talk about freeing myself and releasing whatever I need to release. And then that's kind of like where the song ends. And yeah, so that's kind of like the storyline of this song is like starting from the, like, I'll do anything for this person, and then kind of finally like understanding what you're doing wrong and realizing it's like, it's you, even as you can blame it on them as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's really like you. And then kind of like teaching yourself that it's okay to let go. And I think something I just realized about the writing of this song yesterday is that the process of like not being able to release this song and just like holding on to it for such a long time, I feel like it kind of like reflects the writing a little bit, just the process. Like I feel like I was just like kind of like waiting for this song to be able to come out, and like not feeling like I was in control of myself and stuff like that throughout this process. And now it's coming out, and I just feel like it's a full circle moment. So I feel like the meaning of the song has kind of changed for me since writing it, where it came from this like place of heartbreak and like being obsessed with this person that I couldn't control. And now it's kind of about this situation that I couldn't control. And I just think it's just funny how like lyrics, I think, and songs can mean one thing to you at one point and then something completely different at another point in time, and they always mean different things to different people. And so I think that was the first time that had happened for me, where the meaning of my own song had kind of changed. But yeah, so that's my song Puppet, coming out at the end of this month. I hope you all like it. So yeah.
Yes.
Yay.
And we will link the song down below. Go stream it. Go give it some love. And this is Puppet by Cate Downey.
If you said jump, I'd leap. If you said stay, I'd cling. If you said go, I'd leave, but I wouldn't want to. If you said wait, I'd stop. In my tracks, I'm not good at giving up this tunnel vision. I'm in the palm of your hands. Watch me dance just for you. You feel amused yet, baby. I'll keep dancing while you wreck my plans. Fuck my head, baby, please. Can't you see it's killing me, being the puppet on your string? If you said walk, I'd run, chase you like the sun, till I come undone. This isn't healthy. I'm in the palm of your hands. Watch me dance just for you. You feel for you. You feel amused yet, baby. I'll keep dancing while you wreck my plans. Fuck my head, baby, please. Can't you see it's killing me, being the puppet on your string?